Testing, testing. 1, 2, 1, 2. Yep. Testing, testing. 1, 2, 1, 2. Good.
please remind you that when speaking into your microphones, you need to wait until you see yourself on the screen so that the live feed can pick up your comments. If you speak before your image is projected, those listening on the live feed or via Zoom will not hear you. This is obviously particularly important in the case of a vote being required. Okay, so can I ask the ICT to confirm that we are now live? Okay, members, agenda item 1 is apologies. And I have received one apology from Councillor Mackle. Is there any from the floor or at home? No further apologies. Okay, thank you. Members, just there's somebody's joined the meeting. They're just called the iPad and their cameras off. Could they reveal themselves or just say who it is?
Through the big door. It's me. Councillor Mark Baxter.
That's okay. Alderman Baxter, just so we know who it is. Okay. Okay, so we're on to agenda item 2, and that's declarations of interest, members. So we'll take these as we progress through the meeting if everybody's content with that approach. Moving on to agenda item 3. This is the Head of Economic Development report. There is 2 decision items. Members, 3.2 was uploaded late, so hopefully you'll have had time to read that. But Nicola's going to take us through them. So firstly, Nicola, I'm going to let you take 3.1.
Yes, thank you very much, Chair, and good evening, members. 3.1 is Ulster University Economic Policy Centre. You'd be quite familiar with this one. The decision required, it's recommended that members receive a presentation from Ulster University Economic Policy Centre on the current economic environment and sectoral outlook in the Borough at a future committee meeting. And number 2, agree a yearly membership fee with UU EPC of up to £10,000 from the economic development budget.
Thank you very much for that, Nicola. And members of this committee will be familiar with this coming annually. So if there's no questions from members, could I have a proposer and seconder for the recommendations? Proposed by Alderman Barry, seconded by Councillor O'Kane. All agreed, members? Yep, thank you very much. And item 3.2 is Awaken Hub, and Nicola, you're going to take us through this again.
Yes, thank you, Chair. And members, I'll just talk a little bit more on this one because I'm aware it was uploaded later to you, so you wouldn't have had an opportunity to review this before the meeting. So this is an opportunity for Council to take a sponsorship agreement with a women's network called Awaken Hub. A lot of other councils have already entered into this because they can see the value of it. The Awaken Hub is a community of women founders who are dedicated to removing any barriers that there might be for women who want to scale and succeed and to grow their business. Now, we know, and you know, that there are lots of initiatives at an early start stage at business startup, but there isn't so much in this space, which is the exciting part of it for us, really. I put in there some detail about the Rose Review and some other university studies that have been done about the role of entrepreneurship and scaling and growing a business. So there's certainly a need for it, and there certainly will be a return on investment from it. If you were inclined to take on this sponsorship agreement as a pilot, there would be a lot of benefits for some of our entrepreneurs who wish to scale and grow their business, and they're all female. And they're listed there. You would have access to a network of 3,000 other people going through potentially what you're going through as well. You would have access to a trade mission that no one else would have, only people that are within that Awaken Hub. And you would also get opportunity to women-led angel investor syndicates as well, which no one else would get the opportunity as well. So the sponsorship agreement will give spaces for 10 women across the borough and within the space of 12 months, and they'll be able to access all the benefits. And I suppose we are recommending it because we know that one of the priorities for Northern Ireland and this council is to try to get as many female entrepreneurs as we can, and then to get as many businesses through to scale and growth as well. So the recommendation is that we agree a pilot sponsorship agreement with the Awaken Hub at a cost of £5,000 from the Economic Development Services budget.
Thank you very much for that, Nicola. And Councillor Kyle Savage is the first one who wishes to speak. So can you bring in Kyle, please?
Thank you, Chair. I would be happy to propose this because I think it's fantastic that we captured all the entrepreneurial spirit, you know, within our council area and right across. So happy to propose it, and it's great to see this project. I actually would like to see maybe a presentation, to come in and do a presentation so we can learn more about this, if that's possible at, you know, a future date. You know, but happy to propose.
Thank you very much, Councillor Savage. And I think that group were meant to come in and we'll possibly try to rearrange that for a future committee meeting. Okay, so Councillor Hawking, you were second to indicate you wish to speak.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, and I know this was slightly late coming up, but I mean, yeah, I'm more than happy to second this. I think it's something moving us in the right direction. And just like Councillor Savage, I would be keen to get more information on it. I think in last night's committee, there was a lot of new ground broken for us. We were learning a bit about some of the stuff that our officers do. So I'd like to see more of this. I'd like to see councillors getting more information about the stuff that's going on within our borough. So I'd be keen to see that come before the committee. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Hawking. And Councillor Lavery.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, it sounds like a great scheme. Is there just any information at the present time how the 12 women businesses will be selected at this stage, or will that be presented in due course? And then, as my other members said, it would be good to get further information, or even once the pilot scheme is concluded, to get feedback from those involved to see if this is something that we could maybe do on an annual basis. But happy for those queries to be, you know, answered in due course if it's possible. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Lavery. Nicola, do you know the information, or do you need to get back to Councillor Lavery?
I'll certainly get back to Councillor Lavery, Chair.
Okay, I'm maybe sure with everybody's.
Okay, will do.
Okay, so members, that was proposed by Councillor Kyle Savage. It was seconded by Councillor Keith Hawking. Are we all happy to agree? We're agreed. Thank you, members. Okay, that moves us on to agenda item 4, the Head of Tourism, Arts and Culture report. There is one decision item, and that is a community arts programme. So I'm going to hand over to Brian.
Thank you, Chair, and good evening, members. As the Chair said, this report relates to the community arts programme. So there's two distinct elements to this: the activity that we're delivering as a department ourselves, and some of that is outlined in there. In terms of some, and you can see the sort of satisfaction rates from the different users of the programme. That we've talked about what's happened in the past and what's due to happen in the short term. So there's a programme with Healthy in Mind in Craigavon, Jubilee Committee Group in Portadown, Craigavon Community Centre. And a lot of this work came on the back of the cessation of the agreement with Portadown 2000, in that we had to move from being more venue led to going out into communities, and we work with the community development department in that respect. The other element to the report is service level agreements that were put into place in 2019 on the back of the arts, culture and heritage strategy, and the recommendation before members. And you can see in terms of those groups and a breakdown of those groups, and with each of those groups, I should say, there is a service level agreement and there's annual targets which we monitor tightly, and again, they've all achieved the satisfaction ratings that we were looking for. So the recommendation before members is that they approve the issue of SLAs to the 3 arts organisations for the purposes of delivering community arts engagement across the borough in line with the Arts, Culture and Heritage Framework 2021 to 31. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Brian. And Councillor Kyle Savage has indicated he wishes to speak first.
Yes, Chair. Thanks for letting me in there. It's just to let the meeting know that I have been involved in one of the groups that had got funding there down at Cloney Community Garden in the previous round. So it is, but he was speaking from that, and the group, the Nurture to Nature, you know, it had major benefits to the local community, and you know, it enabled them to express themselves through art and that, so it was very beneficial to that area. So it was, Chair, but just want to put on record that I have been involved in this in the past. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Savage. And Councillor O'Hanlon, you were in next.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I suppose that Councillor Savage, not the groups that are listed, has been receiving monies this time round, but actually the Armagh Pipers Club, who received monies previously, my daughters attend programs run by the Pipers Club, so I just wanted to declare that. Look, other than that, I think this is an excellent program. I think it's a good way of engaging people through the arts, and we'll be happy to propose.
Thank you very much, Councillor O'Hanlon. Councillor Flaherty, you're in next.
Thank you very much, Chair. Just before, just have one wee question for Brian, but just to put on the record, if I may, Chair, I do feel I have to declare an interest, as you do mention Portland 2000. I'm a current board member, so I know the history of this, and it's a very detailed report that you put forward there, and thank you for that. And we all, I suppose, in the chamber know a lot of these groups. I wouldn't be aware of all of the programs that they're all running, because I suppose as dispersed councillors in the borough, we don't always get you know, Lord, I would have known a lot of them from attending events and openings as Lord Mayor back in the day, and that would always sort of be the case. Some of the other councillors may not just be aware of all that goes on. I take an interest in this sort of thing, probably due to my board membership and seeing what's happening out in the community. The projects, as my colleague Councillor Savage have said, have been really very beneficial, and they've just really brought a lot of people together in different ways. So that's been very, very good. So if I can second, I'm happy to second. You maybe take advice there, because I'm quite happy to declare that interest. But can I just ask, you're saying there about the SLAs are for 2 years with a 2-year extension and a review every year. Will there be a capacity built into that in some way, that those groups will come in and tell this committee or tell the council, just because you did say you're content, they've hit their targets, etc. So I don't really know what those targets are. So would that be built in any way to those reviews, that they would come in, like happened in previous years with previous organisations, that they did have to present and show what they'd got up to over the year? That would be useful, just as an aside. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Flaherty. Brian, just bring you in briefly.
Thank you, Chair. No, if that's what members request, then that will happily be facilitated. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Brian. So it was proposed by Councillor O'Hanlon and was seconded by Councillor Flaherty. Are we all agreed, members? Thank you. Okay, that takes us on to items 2.4 or 4.2 and 4.3. They're information items. However, Brian wishes to speak on the heritage places. So Brian, I'll hand over to you again.
Thank you, Chair. Most members will probably be aware of this initiative that was announced by Lottery late in sort of 2023, called Heritage Places. There's a fund of £200 million divided across 9 locations across the UK, and you'll see from that list that Armagh, Banbridge and Craigavon as a borough as a whole is one of those. There is a link back to City of Culture and City of Culture bid, in the 3 of these locations were City of Culture bidders at the time for 2025. So again, it's a useful legacy from that. You'll see in the report, and it's very high level at this stage, much more detail to come. There's 4 key priorities as part of the programme. And there's been a number of internal conversations with officers, and we've met with Lottery to try and better understand what this programme looks like. And we've had workshops with senior officers in council, along with the Chief Executive Lottery and the senior team. So again, the local lottery team, I think, are finding their feet with this. It's the first time this program has ever ran. It's not, ideally, you would have thought 200 million divided by 9. It's not going to be as clear cut as that. In the years to come, there'll be other places will be announced. But what we're being invited to do at the minute is to make a submission into Lottery to bid for up to £250,000 at 100% funding, to work up a strategic plan for heritage for ABC. So that's before members in terms of information this evening. And we've also been offered 5 days consultancy at 100% funding to work up to do the pre-work before the bid goes in, just to make sure, I think, to reassure Lottery that we're focusing in the right areas. Again, when this came through, when I met with Lottery, we were talking about lots of capital projects, but what they've been fundamental on is that this is about community, and so community is at the heart of it. So there could be a capital project funded where it's intrinsically important in its place. So I think that'll all be teased out at the next stage. But that's just an update on this, because there's been a lot of debate about this. Groups have contacted us, and I'm sure have contacted you as well. So that's the update at this stage. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Brian. And there's a couple of questions for you, Councillor Savage.
Thank you, Chair, and thanks for the update there, Brian, on this here, and well done. I think it's a very it's great news for the whole council area right across the board. So it is, and I suppose that leads me on to saying, you know, about how important it is to get a good balance right across the council area. And Dromore is one of those urban centres that was awarded way back in the day, but it was withdrawn at one stage. So Dromore has been the poor relative in a lot of this funding going forward. So I think we need to focus on perhaps the potential of getting funding into Dromore, especially the importance of the A1 corridor, Belfast-Dublin Economic Corridor going past. And just if that would be an option, if that's something that will be considered and took forward by yourselves, Brian. But again, thanks to you and all the team for the hard work that you've put in and bringing this about. So thank you.
Thanks very much, Councillor Savage, and I'm sure Brian's made a note of that. So he has. So I'll bring in Councillor O'Hanlon.
Yeah, thank you, Chair, and thanks, Brian. I suppose first of all, declaring interest as a member of the Armagh City Townscape Heritage Project. Brian, I presume, maybe is there any detail around would there be a follow-on from, I know there's the Heritage Lottery project in Armagh at the minute, there's one ongoing in Lurgan. Is it anticipated that a lot of this will be in around the built heritage again in the first instance? And secondly, in terms of a governance piece, have we looked at how we will how this will roll out? Is it something that you could bring the Townscape Heritage projects together under one umbrella, or is this a completely new organisation that would need to be formed as part of this? But thanks for your efforts so far.
Thanks very much, Councillor Hanlon. Brian, in position to answer that tonight?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Councillor O'Hanlon. So on the governance piece, I think that needs really looked at the outset, and that will, I don't want to preempt what comes from the strategy, but that will be picked up in the strategy work. But I think we probably need, you know, I think this will be, it'll be wider than Armagh and Lurgan. So I think we need a new governance framework to oversee this. And when we met with Lottery, they were at pains to talk about how important good governance was around this. And again, another rationale for why we got the funding for this out with the City of Culture bid was, you know, there hasn't been enough heritage investment across this borough from various agencies. So, but no, on the governance piece is really important. I think we probably start from scratch. As part of the City of Culture bid, there was an entity had been identified as a legal entity that we worked with the legal teams on. But I think would, you know, it might be a start point, but definitely that'll be one of the fundamentals.
Thanks very much for that, Brian. You content, Councillor O'Hanlon?
Yeah, and sorry, Chair, if you permit, just supplementary in relation to, would Navan fit in under this umbrella, or is that something that a different kind of heritage development we're looking at?
Brian, would you be in position to answer that tonight, or do you want to go back to him?
It's very hard to say at this stage, and you know, there are different parameters we could look at as part, and you know, Councillor Savage mentioned Dromore. We have 5 conservation areas across the borough. That could be one of the elements that we look at. You know, and he did correctly mention Dromore, which I think had a townscape heritage before, but a building was brought down and then the funding was withdrawn. So I think there's so many parameters, so many elements to this. I wouldn't rule anything in or out at this stage. Thank you.
Thanks very much for that, Brian. Okay, so we will move on, members. We're moving on to agenda item 5. Head of Community Development Report. There's a decision item relating to the Green Finches of the Ulster Defence Regiment. Nicola, you're taking that?
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, members.
Apologies, members. I have skipped over. There's Information item 4.3, which is the Roth Island update. Please forgive me for passing over that by mistake there. That's an information item, and is there any questions in relation to it? Okay, thanks. Apologies for that again, member. So, sorry, Nicola, we're on to you now.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, members. The report that's brought before you tonight is in response to a notice of motion what was brought to Council in January 23. Officers have been liaising with representatives from the Greenfinches within the local borough to agree on appropriate action to recognise the members residing in the borough. The proposal in the report is two-stage approach. The first part of it is the design of a commemorative brooch, and the second stage is a civic reception where the commemorative brooches will be distributed. The budget detailed on the report will be covered within the existing Community Development 23-24 budget. The approximate number of Greenfinches residing in the borough at this stage is 70, but this is to be confirmed. If the numbers of Greenfinches is higher than the overall proposed, then this will be still managed within the highlighted budget within the report. The recommendation is that members agree the programme of work as detailed in the body of the report.
Thank you, Nicola. You've heard the report from Nicola there, members, so it's over to you. So, Councillor McElrath, you indicated first you wish to speak.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Nicola, for the report. Listen, through the Chair, can I just ask maybe two questions? Well, one point of clarification and then maybe a slight proposal or slight change to what's brought forward. First of all, it's just to clarify my discussions with the officers within the association is that it's very much a brooch, a commemorative brooch, because the motion said a lasting. Something that was lasting. So rather than a little pin, that would be a brooch. And again, speaking to them, the costs of those are coming in maybe at around somewhere around £20–25. That's the first thing. And it's just to clarify that we are talking about a brooch, not a pin, because that's what they are very adamant about. The second wee bit of clarification is, if we lead on from that, my view would also be that there are more than 70. In fact, I would say this in excess of 100 across our borough. And if we start to add those figures together, it comes to much more than 2,000. Now, what I'm suggesting is within budget. I'm not asking for more budget, but a lot of these folk that are involved in this have already had a reception, albeit the Armed Forces Covenant Fund paid for that, but they've had a reception. So my suggestion, and this is only speaking to some of these folk tonight, a few minutes before the meeting, is that we use that budget almost in its entirety to go towards the commemorative brooches, and that the presentation would be at a later stage at a church service, a service of remembrance, where there would be no cost, and certainly no cost to this council. And that's what I'm seeking to propose, that there would be a change, that members would agree that the 3,000 would go towards the commemorative brooches, because in my view, it will take that to cover those that served in this ABC area. And that's the proposal, Chair, that I'm seeking to bring. I'm willing to hear other members' view on it, but as I say, these folk already have had us as a reception, albeit that was paid for out of another budget. And again, having spoken to some of the officers tonight, they would be very content to go this route, but they're concerned that the money allocated for the brooches will not cover the membership in this area. And that's just maybe want to hear what officers feel about that. Thanks, Chair.
Thanks, Councillor McElrath. But I'm just going to clarify your ask before we move on. So it's brooches rather than pins. Yeah, no reception but a church service. And that to clarify the numbers as well. Was that within it, or?
No, I think that's right. I would say, Chair, in my view, I mean, I had 70 almost at my reception. The reception was paid for the Armed Forces Covenant scheme.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of those that were absent. They put in apologies for that.
Okay.
I would be contact everyone from the board, so I feel that it's much more than 7 days, and the concern would be that we end up people not being able to deal with this. And I would rather see everyone getting the command approach and allowing the presentation to be done on another occasion. That's new cost to us.
Okay. So you give me that proposal. Can I just have a seconder for Councillor McLeod? Okay. So that's a proposal. So I'll get a few more speakers in first and then we'll come back to that. Okay, so Alderman Burns, you were in next.
Thank you, Chair. I was going to actually second the proposal that was made, as was put in the motion. It was to recognise the service that and the sacrifice made by Greenfinches of this area, and also a lasting tribute. So I think that the brochures would be more appropriate. So I'm happy enough to go along with that. Thank you.
Flaherty, you were next.
Well, thank you, Chair. It's somewhat of a moot point actually, because my question's nearly been answered by the proposer of the amendment there, because when I looked at the numbers, knowing the numbers as well, I also know that Armagh Palace would never have serviced even 60 people. So in my head, I was going, you're never going to get 70 is nearly too many in Armagh Palace as a rule. So it would probably have had to been here, but that is solved by this proposal. So like my colleague, we're happy to second. I think that's a good way forward.
Councillor Hawken, you're in next.
Thank you, Chair. Look, it's not going to come as a surprise to anybody in the chamber online that we opposed it on the night, and we're opposed to this again. And I don't intend to go back through the arguments for and against this here tonight, if possible. I don't think it'll add much to the debate, but I would say anyone from the nationalist community that's tuned in to listen to this tonight will be shaking their head in disbelief, both that this is what we're choosing to do and that we're spending money in the current climate on this matter. But look, just on behalf of our party, we are opposed to this, and we will be, if necessary, if it needs to go to a vote, we will be voting against it. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Hawken. And Councillor Alexander, you're in next.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I just wanted to say that it was important that we recognise the full diversity of our council area, and ensuring women are appropriately acknowledged as part of that. We do, of course, recognise that there are sensitivities in relation to our complex and contested past, and we believe that this is a relatively modest gesture, and that it's both cognizant and respectful of the diverse views within our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Alexander. Members, we have a proposal that it's a brooch that is offered, and also at a church service rather than a reception. We're not agreed on it, as Councillor Hawken said there. So we'll put this to the vote, and we'll do it that way. Okay, members. So we'll go through the list in front of me, and we'll take time on this, folks, because we need to hear your voice. Oh, somebody. No, nobody's not going to speak. Councillor Alexander, do you support the amended proposal?
Yes.
Alderman Baxter?
Yes, Chair.
Alderman Barry? Alderman Burns? Councillor Duffy? He's not online. Councillor Flaherty? Oh, sorry, Councillor Flaherty.
I'm not touching it. Yes, Lord Mayor. Sure, sorry, sure. Elevated you there, Kat. There's a throwback for you.
Alderman Greenfield?
Yes, Chair.
Councillor Hawken?
No, Chair.
Councillor Lavery?
Yes.
Councillor Michael is an apology. Councillor Ashley Mullen.
No, Chair.
Councillor Jude Mullen is not online or in the chamber. Councillor McClelland.
Yes, Chair.
Councillor McElrath.
Yes, Chair.
Alderman Ritria.
Yes, Chair.
Councillor Mulholland.
Yes, Chair.
Councillor O'Kane. You got your card in? Right. I'll just shout louder. Councillor O'Hanlon.
No, Chair.
Myself, no. And Councillor Kyle Savage.
Yes, Chair.
Okay, members, give us a moment or two to top this up. Okay, members, the proposal from Councillor McElrath, seconded by Councillor McClelland, has passed on a vote of 12-5. Okay, members, we're now going to, I need to seek a proposer and secretary to go into committee. Alderman Barry. Councillor McClelland, thank you. Members and online viewers, in accordance with Schedule 6 of the Local Government Act, we will now be moving into a confidential session of the council. This means that we will be turning off the public feed of the meeting. This will be returned when the meeting is restarted. Can I ask the ACT officers to please turn off the feed? officers to turn on the public feed again and confirm with me when it is on so that the meeting can proceed again in open session. Thank you. And can I seek a proposer and seconder to agree the recommendations made in committee? Councillor Lavery, Alderman Barry. Agenda item 7, members. There is one item of relevant business, and this from Councillor O'Hanlon, and he did promise me he would be brief earlier. So, Councillor O'Hanlon.
Yeah, thank you, Chair, and appreciate it. And I promise I will be very brief. Chair, would it possible for us to write to Invest NI and ask them to come to an appropriate meeting of committee? I'm dealing with an issue at the minute around businesses trying to get land in Armagh City. Invest NI currently have 7.5 acres on the Newry Road, all of which there's interest in, but none of it can be used because of floodplain issues. So Invest NI currently have no lands in Armagh City for investors, and I think it's a disgrace. And I'd like the opportunity for them to come before the committee and have a discussion on it.
Thank you very much. Councillor McClelland, we were speaking in the pre-meeting about that, and we're looking Invest NI to come anyway, so we're going to ask them to come anyway, Councillor O'Hanlon, and raise that. And maybe if you can speak to Caroline offline about progressing this in the meantime, but certainly we'll try and get them here as soon as possible.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, members, that concludes our meeting for this evening. Members at home, good evening, and members here, safe home.
Thank you.